It's certainly a time when you need more than one good horse in the yard. I'm happy to say that my first guest today has several. As I said, it is and certainly has the potential to be a career-defining season with plenty more group races to come, but he's enjoyed great success with the likes of Hookham, with Al Bashir, who was such a promising second in yesterday's Champagne Stakes, the Gimcrack winner Minzal. He's a man who's built up a wealth of experience with some of the biggest stables in the country prior to taking out his own licence a few seasons ago, with spells with the legendary Martin Pipe, with Josh Gifford, and then later 12 years as assistant to Sir Michael Stoute. He is, of course, Owen Burrows. Owen, good morning.
Morning, Nick.
You really have worked with some of the titans of the game, haven't you?
I've been very, very fortunate, yeah, very fortunate to work with some geniuses.
And you make the point that you're very lucky to be training for Sheikh Hamdan now and training all these lovely horses. But this has been a tremendous season. Could you even have imagined back in May, June, when you were champing at the bit and wanting to get out there and run these horses, that could have worked out quite as well as it has?
Yeah, obviously we're always striving to be competing at the top level. And I thought sort of May time that they were a good bunch of two-year-olds, you know, as nice as I've had since I've been training. Obviously, you know, we had Hookham, who won promisingly last year at Kempton, and, you know, we were hoping he was going to go on and be a high-profile horse for us. So, yeah, no, we're thrilled.
Let's get yesterday out of the way, first of all. When you were driving home last night, was it disappointment, satisfaction, mixture of both? They both run well, but neither has won.
Yeah, you know, obviously we're disappointed. Disappointed for myself, the whole team. You know, it was a big few days leading up to it and a few sleepless nights. But you know, when you absorb it all in, you know, there's plenty of positives to be taken from it. I think the two-year-olds, you know, just probably a little bit of inexperience got him beat, taking nothing away from the winner. And
this is Al Bashir, who was second in the Champagne Stakes. I mean, he's run a great race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. He's done nothing wrong. The experience won't be lost on him. So, you know, I'll speak with Sheikh Hamdan. If he's happy, then you know, no reason not to think about Dewhurst. And Hookham, again, done nothing wrong. Possibly ground may have been a touch quick, Jim mentioned, but I don't think he probably quite got home. You know, I know he stayed a furlong sort of less at Newbury, but you know, a lot less company. You've got to stay and, you know, and be a proper stayer in these sort of Group 1 and certainly Classic. You know, there's only a few of them each year, and you have to be hardened and tough, and everything has to be right for you.
So you're feeling good about them, and they both trotted up well this morning?
Yeah, my head girl Hannah's messaged me this morning and said they El Bashir's actually put on weight, which is typical El Bashir. He's another great mind on him. And yeah,
how unusual is that? It's not like he just went down the road, is it? He's travelled all the way to Donington.
Again, he eats well. He's pretty laid back about life, and as long as they eat well and drink well, then it's a sign that, you know, they're taking it all in their stride as such. If you've got one which possibly is worrying a little bit about it, they'll lose more. But touch wood, this year we've found that a few are putting, you know, weight on. Well, not these. I'm saying weight. It's very minimal. But yeah, it shows that they've not had a hard race
and that they're thriving and their well-being is good. You say he's such a laid-back individual. Does he reflect his trainer?
Yeah, not too bad. I wasn't last week. Yeah, if you don't get excited about the big days, then, you know, it's not like I'm Mr. Stoute or Mr. Gosden, who have been doing it for umpteen years and have had umpteen chances in these big Group 1's classics. So, yeah, to not feel a little bit of pressure and get excited, I don't think would be normal.
But it's quite a high-pressure job. You say you're lucky. You are lucky. You're getting sent a steady stream of beautifully bred horses. But are you someone who can wear the pressure well? Do you find it straightforward?
Yeah. Good job I've got no hair, probably. I wouldn't have by now. But, yeah, you know, you just have to absorb it up and, you know, not try to, you know, take it to heart as such. You know, as I say, I'm very lucky this year. You know, we've got some lovely horses, and we shall try and do our utmost to get the best out of them.
Take me back to the beginning, where it all started in racing for Owen Burrows as a conditional jockey over jumps.
Yeah, well, my father was head lad for David Nicholson right through sort of the 80s, so I was brought up in racing. and yeah, I was fortunate to have a few rides starting at Martin Pipes. Great times. I was pretty average jockey.
But when you went to Martin Pipes, he was in his absolute pomp, wasn't he? I mean, he'd already been champion trainer a hatful of times, and winners were just expected every day. What was the vibe down there like when you were there?
Oh, it was a great place to work. From a young jockey's point of view, it was brilliant because there was loads of horses to ride. They were always well schooled, always 110% fit. So at the end of the day, it was probably your errors if they were getting beat, and yeah, it was good times.
What was he like to ride for? When you were a young conditional jockey, and as you say, when you were going riding the horse, they were probably likely as not favourite most times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd always speak to you either before you left if he wasn't going racing, and you weren't tied down to huge orders. It was well documented. The majority of them used to, why make problems for yourself? They were fit, go out in front, and no excuses then. They tended to jump well. And then if you did balls up, you'd be up the house, and he would go through the videos with you and point you out where you went wrong. Sort
of very methodically. He doesn't strike me someone who would get cross as such.
No, there was never any raised voices as such, but yeah, you knew when you made a cock up.
Did you make many?
Oh, plenty. Yeah. Probably more than he let on.
Did you think at that point, because I remember, Owen Burrows claiming whatever it was at the time, 7-5, was the sort of conditional jockey people were talking about a bit. You had a bit of traction. Did you think, oh, hello, I could be on my way here?
Yeah, I can remember riding a winner for Martin at Sandown, and I was sat in the weighing room afterwards, and Richard Johnson was he was younger than me then, I think, just.
Still is.
And yeah, and he said, well, be champion conditional next year, and it struck me a bit by surprise, and just circumstances. At the end of the day, I wasn't blooming good enough. Simple as, I'm not going to make any excuses for that. But
is it not partly the fact that it had taken you by surprise that someone even might have thought of you as a champion conditional? Is that part of it as well? The idea that you really actually have to believe that you can do it as well as being?
Yeah, and certainly now training, I look back, I probably didn't want it enough, because you'd be disappointed you were beaten on something, but it'd only last half an hour. Whereas now, if one of mine's, you just ask my wife, I'm a right miserable so-and-so, and I look back and think, like AP back in the, I'd say he was probably a nightmare to live with for the time he was riding, and I think, I probably didn't want it enough and didn't believe probably in myself enough. And as I say now, God, I hate it if we get beat. Absolutely hate it.
So if you'd had the trainer's mindset that you have now when you were as a jockey, things might have worked out
possibly,
a little bit differently.
Possibly, yeah.
Are you still in touch with Martin?
A little bit. He they're very good. When we had our Royal Ascot winner, received a letter through the post from him, from Carol and Dave. He paid us a visit a couple of years ago, which was interesting. It was late morning, and third lot, I thought he'd probably want to jump in the truck and watch third lot. No, just wanted me to take him around the yard. Wanted to look at what bedding we were using, what hay we were using, what feed we were using. He was still thinking, and he quite rightly said, we have to keep tabs on everybody else and see what everybody else is using, and he's not missing a trick.
Unbelievable, a total one-off.
I think, exactly. Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, he was well before his time, wasn't he? Back in his heyday, and even now, is still sort of on the ball and looking in ways of trying to improve everything.
You went from one much loved character in Martin Pipe to another in Josh Gifford. I mean, you couldn't find two more different personalities. What was your time at Findon like?
Great times, great people. you know, some of my best friends still were made down there. A completely different environment. Josh was more old school in how he trained, but you know, great horseman, great trainer, and you know, his methods were completely different to what Martin's were.
In what way?
Just he was sort of, you know, we'd go trekking off for miles, you know, and we'd be cantering up hills, grass hills, just anywhere there was a bit of rough ground. He had great facilities, mind you know, we had great grass gallops, had a nice all weather there, but he had plenty of land, which we just used the land. And you know, he wasn't quite into the modern side of it. We didn't scope too much, and you know, he just used his eye.
And somehow it worked. Tell us about the atmosphere there, because you were there with a lot of people who our audience would be very familiar with now.
Yeah.
You were all sort of in your late teens, early 20s, I suppose, 20s, at the time.
Yeah. So obviously Philip Hyde was first jockey, Leighton Aspel. I shared a house with Leighton for a few years. Roger Varian. So yeah, there was, you know, some good guys down there, good guys. And
could you have predicted everyone's path then, when you were all friends and in your early 20s and making your way? Would you have ever believed that you and Roger Varian would be locking heads in group races? Did he always have that sort of? He was pretty laid back, Rog, as a young fella. Was he?
He was a good rider, very good rider, but yeah, he'd obviously spent a bit of time with Michael Jarvis in Newmarket before on summer holidays, so you know, it was something which was in his mind. But I can mention a little story. It's typical Josh, because you worked hard, but you played hard down there. It was the social side of it. It was good fun. And I can remember I think it was a Friday evening, and there was a local sort of fair in the village, and work morning next morning, and the younger lads used to have to go back at sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock, just check the horses' waters. And Roger said, "No, I'm going to do that tonight. You guys kick on. You know, I'm going to do that." And thought, bit of dedication, you know, do me well. And we all cleared off down into the village, had a great time. And Josh used to walk his dogs sort of last thing, 9 o'clock time. And he suddenly, you know, come across Roger. He said, what are you doing, Roger? He said, "I'm doing the waters, Governor, you know. Work morning tomorrow, a bit of dedication, and get yourself down to the village and go and enjoy yourself," he said. You know? And like next day, Roger was like, "Christ," he said, "I got a rollicking for not going out last night." He said, "Thought I was trying to do the right thing."
Yeah, he'd seen that a few times.
That was Josh. You know, he liked you to work hard, but to enjoy yourselves as well.
So they were happy days down at Findon.
Most definitely, yeah.
When did the point come where you thought, well, I've got to move on here. I've got to try something a little bit different?
Yeah, well, I got down to my, you know, only claiming 3, and you know, I picked up rides at claiming 5 because you know, you've got that bit of experience and you're taking 5 off then. But then when you're down to 3, you know, you're near enough competing with the likes of AP and Richard Johnson, and as I said, I wasn't good enough then, and I started to lose a few rides because of that. And there was obviously £5 claimers coming along, which, you know, were probably worth that £5 and were better than me. And you know, I always said to me that I didn't want to be scrubbing around blooming, you know, few ride a week or something like that, and riding not dodgy ones, but just think I didn't find that there was no enjoyment just turning up at the races and jumping 3 or 4 in the pack and then tailing off and pulling up. You know, that wasn't what I wanted to do.
So it was then to Newmarket. And
yeah, I had my brother at the time was actually living in Jersey, so I cleared off over there for a summer, and rode. I'd made a contact in Jersey racing wise, so I rode through that summer, and yeah, through Roger and another guy who we used to work with at Findon, Paul. They were both there, and yeah, they let me lodge with them for a bit, and that was where it all started. Yeah.
And you ended up with Sir Michael Stout, and for a long time as well.
Again, just very fortunate. I was with Sean Woods to start with, and again, I'd had a ride for Sean. He's obviously Philip Hyde's brother-in-law. So I was just riding out for Sean. His assistant left, and he asked me if I fancied it, and he didn't leave till probably September of that season, so I literally did it to the end of the season, through the winter, breaking in the yearlings, which was great fun at Sean's. It was a bit different to how I'd been taught. And then suddenly, yeah, that sort of February time, he was offered his trainer's job in Hong Kong. And, well, hang on a minute, now we're all suddenly, you know... but again, credit to Sean, he said to every member of staff that he would do his utmost to find them good jobs. And as it was happened, Patrick Pendergast was assistant at Sir Michael's at the time. He was leaving to go back to Ireland, so obviously set up himself, and Sean put a good word in for me at Sir Michael's, and yeah, I went there. Like when I first started, you know, I was riding 2 lots out and just helping out, but as time went on, obviously it developed up, and you know, it was amazing to be working with such class animals.
Give me an indication as to what it was like to work with Sir Michael Stoute, because again, he is not someone who has ever really done it by the playbook. He's invented his own playbook.
Yeah, he's a I'd probably not say he's a private man, but he has his ways of doing things, and you know, he sticks to that. And it's as someone like myself, you know, you could be stood next to him as the horse, you know, he wouldn't immediately tell you, right, we're doing this with this horse for that reason. You, as time went on, you realised what he was doing it for, and you got to learn like that. You know, you could ask, but he wouldn't be, right, we're going to send this that way, or, you know, because I don't want him to be climbing hills, or you know, you just had to take it and absorb it all in.
Do you think he always knew exactly why he was doing something, or was it all instinctive? I
think it was all instinctive. That's why I think he's so good. It was just, you know, he wasn't afraid to try different things, and he moved with the times as well. You know, I know he's been training for a long time, but he wasn't afraid to you know, use the more modern methods of science, veterinary science, and you know, he realised you've got to compete still at the highest level. You've got to move with the times. What
were your fondest memories of Freemason, of being at Michael Stoute's?
You know, again, I was very fortunate. I was there for Criskin, Northlight, Workforce, Islington, Conduit. You know, now I'm training, and you know, just to have a Group 1 runner is hard enough. You know, to find these horses. For them to actually win, yeah, you don't realise until you're doing it yourself how hard it is to find these horses, and just to be dealing in with that calibre of horse, you know, nearly every year he was finding them, you know. So, yeah, he's just a class trainer.
Who was the most exciting horse you worked with there? Which was the one that got you out of bed?
I think probably Harbinger was the one who didn't, you know, he was amazing in that King George. And what he would have done after that, who knows? You know, he could have been an ARC winner, and what he did that day at Ascot was amazing.
And did you all know he was going to do it?
He'd obviously showed a good level at home as a younger horse. You know, people ask, he's one of the sort of things with Sir Michael, with his patience, that, you know, he was an immature 2-year-old, and, you know, probably myself, you know, you saw a little bit and you might have been, oh, I'd like to get on and give this fella a run, you know, but no, I think he ran first time in a Wood Dit and got beat. But we always saw plenty of potential, and just leading up to the King George, he did a bit of work up the Elba Hatchery. I think Olivier Pellier rode him that day, and yeah, he was very, very impressive. So it didn't come as a total surprise. Obviously, it was slightly mixed.
Was that the best bit of homework you've ever seen?
Carlton House would have been right up there. Yeah, his homework was very impressive. He was just a little fragile, probably, that we didn't see the full potential on the track.
Was he one that got away, Carlton House, do you think?
I didn't say he got away. I think he won a Dante, and all right, we were gutted in the Derby that year. Just, you know, he lost a shoe and got hampered around the Tattenham corner, and it's just, you know, one of those things. It didn't quite happen for him.
Because you knew exactly what a really good horse was, and you'd been spoiled by having all these lovely horses, not at your disposal, but in your eye line every day. Was that an advantage or a disadvantage when you actually had your name on the licence?
It must be an advantage, but yeah, you can also look at it and think, oh, God, we haven't got much this year, or but. Like, fortunately this season, as I say, I was very lucky. My first year training, I think my 12th runner was Massat in the Guineas, who was second. I'm very fortunate to inherit him off Mr. Hills, and he'd been second in a Dewhurst, and his homework had looked good from an early stage, because he was a big raw horse at 2, and I'm sure Mr. Hills would say the same. We didn't know whether he was much good, but until we got him on the grass. He went past us one morning. We both sort of thought, hang on a minute, this fella's all right. So yeah, I'm sure it's an advantage.
Well, you've got some proper horses to look forward to now, and we talked about Al Bashir at the beginning. I'm guessing that the Dewhurst is the obvious place for him to go to have another crack at Chindit.
Yes, I think so, as long as Sheikh Hamdan's happy. I spoke to Angus, and Richard was there yesterday, and I just think a little bit of inexperience probably got him beat, taking nothing away from the winner. But as I say, he's not too bothered by it. He's put on a couple of kilos, and God willing, if he's all right, then we'll certainly be considering it.
But is he the best 2-year-old in your yard?
Yeah, well, again, very fortunate that we've got Minzal as well. A different type of horse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's an unfair question, I grant you, because one's your Guineas winner for next year, and the other one might be winning your Commonwealth Cup.
It would be nice, yeah. People ask me after the gym crack, would he be a Guineas star? I just think the speed he shows, I don't really see him staying. And speaking to Angus, do we need to be trying to make him stay? The Commonwealth Cup's there for this type of horse. So yeah, that would be the plan with him.
I mean, he was brilliant in the gym crack. I don't know quite the strength of the form, and we'll find out a bit more in the middle part. But does he keep getting stronger and better at home? Yeah,
he's a laid back horse. Especially for sort of a 6 furlong, he's not buzzy. So yeah, Angus was down last week. We looked round Wednesday evening. Looks great. Yeah, he takes everything in stride. So that will be the plan. To go to sort of 2 weeks yesterday.
As you say, he seems to have a great attitude to the job, nice and low to the ground, just gets on with it, keeps finding when he hits the front as well.
Yeah, that's the seeing him there on screen. He as you said, he really gets his head down and wants to gallop, wants to go forward. And that easy sort of ground that day, I don't know whether that would be
up his street.
Ideal as such. I'm hoping it'll be sort of good ground for Newmarket. I'm sure looking at the forecast, probably on the quicker side, but I think he was quick at Salisbury, but obviously that's only a sort of novice, but he didn't seem to mind it that day.
And how do you see things unfolding for you and for your family over the next 5 or 6 years?
Wow. Yeah, God willing, some of these, we can... See, the Group 1 is that's the main target as such. You're
getting pretty close now.
Yeah, we've had Group 2s, Group 3s, second in a classic. So yeah, to get one of them on the board and just keep trying to produce top horses for the boss. He's been great. He's been very supportive of me, sending us some great stock. I'm just thankful I can repay him back a bit now that we're producing a few for him.
Owen, thanks so much for chatting to me this morning.
Cheers, Nick. Thanks a lot.
Owen Burrows, who's having a wonderful season, and hopefully there might be more to come in the Middle Park and the Dewhurst with his very exciting 2-year-olds. Subscribe to Racing TV to be notified when more Luck on Sunday videos are appearing online. And don't forget to join me for the show every Sunday morning from 9 o'clock with the best guests.